Hello YouTube, I am here with my budget watch winder, and today I'm going to show you how to fix a motor failure and how to address one other common problem on these. On this particular unit, I picked it up off of eBay or Amazon. I don't know, they all come from the same place, but anyway, when I go to turn it on, back here, I'm using battery power, but this works on both. Notice how the one wheel's not doing much of anything and the other's doing nothing. So I'll switch that off. And again, these units work on battery or on electric. I'm just using battery right now. But anyway, if yours is doing something like that, or if neither of them are working at all, and now instead of thinking maybe the whole unit might have failed, first try this. Now I kind of already know this is the problem, so I've already gone through some of the diagnosis, but if I come in here and I unplug that right-hand motor off the circuit board there, and I turn it back on, the left one is working just like it's supposed to. I've already done a little bit of troubleshooting on this, and I know that the motor on the right-hand side has failed. And when it's failed like that, it kind of creates a draw and prevents that other one from working properly. So I'm going to show you how to fix that. And to do that, we're going to start with removing the tray. Okay, from the tray, we're going to grab a screwdriver. 1 second. Alright, we're going to take out this one screw right here, and this is a Phillips. And for those curious about the watch on my wrist, that is my new Tag Heuer Carrera caliber 16, reference number CV2A10. I actually just picked that up recently from crownandcaliber.com. That is an amazing website. Anyway, so once you have that screw out, and I like to just do stuff like I'll just set all the parts here in that tray so I don't lose anything. There's a secondary tray here you're just going to kind of pull on that comes out. Okay, and we'll set that aside. And we'll go ahead and flip to the inside of the unit. So this is what it looks like on the inside. This is the motor here, and then it kind of drives the gears that are inside of this gearbox. We'll see in a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these 3 screws, and we'll resume in a second. I just want to make a slight correction here. I'm going to remove these 2 screws on the outside, and then we'll address those 3 screws on the flange. Sorry about that. Alright, now that I have the motor removed from the watch winder, I just want to clarify there's actually 4 screws. Everything you're going to be working on uses Phillips. So we're going to go ahead and pull those 4 screws off of there now. Alright, I have removed the 4 Phillips screws, as you can see by the holes. So I'm going to flip it upside down and take this casing off very carefully. Alright, I'm going to set my camera down a second here so I can get this. Pardon the interruptions here, sorry about that. A little tight. Alright, now that that's come off, the center gear here, which goes in right here, came off, and it drives similar to this. Now I just want to point out one common failure that you see on these is this rubber belt right here. If anyone watching this happens to know where you can get this belt, it would be handy to have a supply of them, because that's probably the most common thing to fail on these budget winders. But so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pull all the gears off of this, and we're going to just set them aside carefully. That one's got a little spacer in it, that's in the center. Now it's always a good idea to take a picture of this kind of stuff ahead of time. You can see here the guide that the belt goes on is actually right here. I removed this previously when I was diagnosing the problem. And this is just kind of press fit onto the shaft of the motor. This is pretty easy to put back on and take off. So, set all my parts carefully aside. And you see there's 2 screws, 1 and 2. We're going to remove those here in a moment. And what we're going to do after we remove those is we're going to we're going to install the new motor, which I have right here. I was actually able to find the exact same one off of Amazon, and I will link that below. But really, any motor that can run in either direction between 1.5 and 6 volts or so is going to be enough for this winder. It doesn't use all that much power. So resume in a moment. So I've opened up the packaging for the new motor. I just want to point out these little screws you see on the outside. All they do is they kind of guide into the tracking on the inside of the watch winder. You can see that's slotted, so you can adjust it. Flipping over to the other side, here is the replacement motor. Here is the old motor. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and desolder those connections, and we're going to resolder them onto this new motor here. This is a reversing polarity motor, as is this one here. So it shouldn't matter which one of these terminals you put it on. I'm going to try to track that as best as I can to make it as original as possible, but it won't always be possible. So, resume in a moment. Alright, so I've got my soldering iron here, and we're going to go ahead and desolder those connections. I'll try my best here to keep this clear. Alright, there's one. Clean up the tip. And there's two, all desoldered. We're going to prep the next motor now. I'll get that prepped and I'll be right back. So we'll go ahead and plug that back in to the circuit board, and we'll turn it on. And I don't know if you can tell, but it is moving. Moving right in my hand, so that's good. Let's put it back together. Alright, now that the repair is done, we're going to go ahead and just take this metal shaft and we're going to put it back on there, and you do so just like so, okay? And just kind of press with your two fingers. It doesn't take a whole lot of effort. Just about right there. See, there's a little bit of a gap. That should be good, and you'll see it's pressed on pretty firm, so it's not going to come off without a good amount of effort, and that's a good thing. So we'll grab the two screws that hold that to the frame, and we'll get it put back together. And we'll be keeping our watches wound again in no time. So we'll just line this up inside and see the holes inside there kind of line up together. We'll resume shortly. Alright, so I've got the new motor attached. Again, referencing that slot system here up at the top where my finger's kind of pointing towards. Kind of running it along anywhere you want, and that slot will adjust the tension on the belt. So I suppose if you ever had to replace the belt with a smaller one, you'd be able to compensate for it using that slot. So let's go ahead and put the gears back together in this, okay? So to put this back together, you may have to retrieve any pegs that stuck onto this side out of these two holes and transfer them into the holes on this side where the transmission and engine go. And you're just going to line up this pin and this pin on the gear with the belt. As you can see, my belt's not in perfect shape, but it'll get by for now. And you're going to just take this gear and stack it into the top of the pin. And when you do, you'll see the gears line up at the top there. Alright. And then you're going to take this last one and you're going to stick it so that this piece with that taper to it remains up away from the motor, because that's the part that's going to screw into the winder. So you set that in there like so, and it's fully assembled. we'll put the cover on and we'll test it. So I've went ahead and tested the motor and plugged it back in, and it works, and I've screwed it back together, but I'll just show you now. Again, flip the on switch, and there you go. It's rotating just like it's supposed to. So I'll put it all together now. 1 second. So I'm going to start with, I'll line the motor up on these holes. They line up with those 2 screws there. So take my screws that I set aside. Alright, I'm going to screw those in and then I'll resume on the other side. So now that I have that screwed in there and everything reconnected on my board, I'm going to just take and fold this down carefully. If you ever go to do this and it's not looking right, just want to watch this seam right here. It might get a little tight, so you got to kind of pull in at the bottom as you fold it, and that'll allow it to tuck up here at the top like it's supposed to, so that when you close the lid, it closes flat. So now that that's done, we're going to take this black tray that I pulled off earlier, and I like it to, kind of be lined up with the other, but you might not be able to control that very well. But you're just going to kind of sit it in there, and it kind of press fits into this some, but it's held in with that screw in the center. So I'll get that center screw again. Again, these are all Phillips, so really for this job, the only tools you're going to use are a Phillips screwdriver and a soldering iron. And I wouldn't say this is too terribly difficult. So I've got that screw all the way in there. I'm just going to kind of check my work, and looks like I could tighten a little more, so I will. Alright, now that's all the way in. So we're just going to take this tray, and you can see it's got lines that guide it in the front. And I want to try to keep it even with the other one, but I doubt it'll stay even. Nope, in fact, it will not. So I'm just going to, trying to line up those holes to those 4 pegs. Do it as best you can here. Alright, I got that in there. And now I'll turn it on. And there you have a repair to your watch winder. As you can see, it is an omnidirectional motor, which is, again, what you need for this repair job. Anyway, I hope that helped you, and if it did and you want to see more content like this, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. And if not, just enjoy the video. Thank you.